Have you done as much as possible as an owner in Saudi Aramco Oil in the 4 years since you first invested in them?
Well, as I told you, we're prioritizing our efforts, and it has not been on that type of conventional oil.
Okay, so you have been a passive owner more than an active.
No, it has been we're part of a collaborative initiative, which is one of the steps, and the final step is blacklisting.
So for our international viewers here in Sweden, we have a different pension system where everyone has to choose what they want to invest in for the pension. But if you don't choose, you are automatically choose AP7, but you can of course also choose actively AP7 if you want.
Yeah.
So you have actually 5 million pension savers. That's a lot of clients.
Yeah, I think we're closing on 5.7 or something. So
it's a lot of people that don't choose.
It's a lot of people. And
so
we
actively.
have somewhere around 1,100 billion Swedish krona asset under management.
And the government directive for AP funds is that you should create return on investment, but also in a sustainable way.
Exactly.
And this directive can be interpreted, if I understand correctly, a little bit differently among the AP funds. The first AP funds, for instance, they have this policy decision not to invest in fossil fuel.
Yes.
For moral reason, but also because they think it's a high risk that fossil fuel can become a stranded asset and they are thereby lose money, etc. But AP7, you have a different strategy.
We have sort of the opposite at AP7. So we buy the whole market as it is. More than 3,000 companies defined by an index called MSCI ACWI. And the only exception from that is the companies that we blacklist. So, and we don't try to sort of outsmart the market. That's the basic belief in our investment philosophy. And then we think that our best possibility to make a difference, to make something happen in the real world, is using the position we have as owners in these companies.
I understand that you can have a lot of power if you invest in a company, and if you get together with other investors, you can build a group, and that can become the majority of the general meeting, etc. But in this case, we're talking about that AP7 has chosen to invest in Saudi Aramco Oil, and that's almost state-owned or controlled by 98% of the Saudi Arabia government.
Yes.
Even if you get 100% of their independent investors on board, you still only have 2% of the power. How is your strategy working here? And why is this not on the blacklist? Because I don't see, please convince me wrong, how you can influence the company when you never can get, never ever near a minority.
No, but I think this argument is very relevant. Of course, if you want to be an active owner in a company and there's a strong majority owner, it doesn't even have to be 98%, but someone who controls the company, it's your chances of influencing are not as good. For the simple reason that someone else controls it. However, we think that what is the sort of defining criteria is not the other owners in themselves, it's the attitude from the company. So when we try to evaluate when a company is worth engaging with or not, it's their own behavior, whether they are improving, whether there's progress. And this is exactly the evaluation.
But here we're talking about a company with a main owner that were in conflict with almost all other interests in the climate meeting. And have you...
That's clearly very worrying.
And what did you do as an owner? Did you go out and publicly tell them that we will sell if they or continue doing this? Or what did you do about it using your influence as a shareholder?
So we have a program that started in 2022 focusing on the biggest emitters in our portfolio and some other companies. It's part of an engagement process where we use this escalation ladder that I mentioned. And we prioritize the coal companies. So we started with those in 2022, and we have been engaging with a little more than 70 of them. And 36 are blacklisted today. And the other companies have, today they have some sort of transition plan, which is what we require them to have. Next step is going to be oil companies, which we're going to start now, and we're going to speed that process up a bit. So, I mean, these questions are exactly what we're going to engage with Saudi Aramco and other companies about.
Yes.
And in the end, it might become a blacklisting.
Sounds good that you're speeding up because we don't have time. But what exactly? But what have you done? When did you buy shares in Saudi Aramco, and what have you done since you become an owner?
They had their IPO 4 years ago. So that's when they came into the listed market, and they came right into our index. So we've been having this position for 4 years now.
For Saudi Aramco specifically, 4 years. That's a long time. We have been in the market for 5-6 years, so yeah. It's a very long time in climate. You obviously haven't succeeded to get them to extract less oil in 4 years. Do you see that you can have that influence going forward?
We're going to have to evaluate when we sort of ramp up the pressure, whether there's any response from the company or not. So, as I said, there has been small improvement. It's weak, so in the long run, it will not be enough.
So you're going to sell.
And the question is, if we put more pressure, are they going to respond or not? Maybe they're not.
It seems to me that it's a very bad idea to invest in a company and vote for them to make less money. Because that's actually what's going to happen if an oil company extracts less oil, don't invest in oil extraction, like most of them are doing today. Wouldn't that mean that you as an investor lose money by influencing them to actually lower their oil production?
Yeah, so if you start with that, since our whole philosophy is to buy the whole market in the interest of our savers, long-term interest, and try to make it more sustainable, this means that we succeed if the total production goes down. And whether individual companies are successful or not is actually not a priority if the whole market is successful.
Have you thought of that you can also influence other investors by leading by example, doing like both the Norwegian state fund and AP7?
Yeah, I interpret what you're saying, that you're thinking of a blanket divestment. So you just take the whole sector out of your investment universe. We're not going to invest in that sector at all.
In companies that are expanding their oil production and not having a plan to phase it down, yes.
Yeah, well, that's something similar to what we're thinking. But we try to, well, we have decided not to do blanket divestments. So saying that we're taking that sector out of our universe. And the simple reason is that it's very hard to see the theory of change. Why is this sector exclusion going to change anything? If you're in the listed equity market, it's a secondary market where investors buy shares from each other. So it's not financing the company in itself. And therefore, the expected results from this is zero.
I mean, I used to work in the finance industry, and this is my frustration, that most good people in finance are thinking that they can have both the cake and eat it. They are still investing in the fossil. And they're also investing in the clean and the green. But that means that if I have a cup here, we have actually 2 cups here, I will give my money half there and half there. That will help the green transition, but we will not make it, because what we need to do is to scale the green much faster, the $4.5 trillion, and we need to starve that, take the water from there to the cup. Do you see my reasoning?
Yeah, and I think that's where we disagree at the capital starvation theory, that by not buying
someone else will buy
shares,
it. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I totally understand that there will probably be some other investors stepping up and filling that gap. But those $3 trillion that pension funds are funneling into the oil companies can be funneled into the green companies. And $3 trillion will be a game changer for the clean energy transition. Don't you agree?
I agree that we already do it. And if it would be possible to ramp it up massively, we certainly would do it. We have done it within green bonds, which is a different thing. But if you look at listed equity, it's just no point, since it's still the same people.
So what you say here is that it doesn't matter how you invest.
I think in listed equity,
it doesn't
active
matter.
ownership is the big thing.
Have you asked your 5 million clients that you're actually doing the work for, if they agree on you on those issues, if they want you to invest in oil companies such as Saudi Aramco and this market? Have you asked them?
In those surveys that we have done over the years, the general conclusion is that the majority of the Swedish population think we should take sustainability into consideration. There's a minority, small group, that think we shouldn't. They think.
But have you asked them about investing in fossil fuel extraction?
Well, we haven't, sort of done a lot of detailed.
Do you have any plans to do that?
No, we might do it. It's not like we decided not to. But the important thing, we think, is to try to interpret the instructions we have and explain what we try to do and why we think this is in the best interest of our savers.
You're talking about that you want the market to succeed.
Yes.
And if I interpret that, does that mean that you want oil to fail and clean energy to succeed?
Yes.
Johan, I want to thank you for an honest discussion, and I'm looking forward to come here next time and maybe have a dialogue about something good you have done in our community.
I think we're doing a lot of good things.
I think you have a lot of potential, and I'm also looking forward to see how you're going to be more active and maybe also change your strategy.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. So that was a very interesting dialogue with the AP7 fund, one of the largest pension funds in Sweden around fossil fuel investments. If you want to see more of those interviews, you can create Climate Love on the platform, send it to leaders and companies, and we will invite them to those dialogues. Or if you see someone that are not doing what you want them to do, you could create Climate Warning. That is what We Don't Have Time is all for. Go to a platform, create your own warning, and engage in the dialogue for the future. Thanks for watching.